I did 1,000 push-ups every day for 31 days. Here's what happened. Sean here from Fit Fusion Brotherhood, and you heard that right. I did all of those push-ups in just 1 month. So in this video, I'm going to explain why I did it, how I did it, and what actually happened at the end of the month. So be sure to stick with me and watch to the very end of the video so you can find out what exactly happened. If you enjoy these type of videos, do us a favor, like, comment, and subscribe for more. So the first question you might be asking is, why did I do this in the first place? And that's a great question. So it all starts a couple years ago, back when COVID became a thing, and I decided to do a monthly challenge every single month on some sort of physical endeavor that would be ridiculously difficult, but also doable. Something that would be long-term, require endurance, and really require a lot of mental toughness. So every month I would do these challenges, and the very first one I did was 1,000 push-ups every single day for an entire month. And you might be wondering, how did I come up with the number 1,000 push-ups? And the story goes back a few months prior to when I'm one of those guys that if I don't work out, I feel kind of anxious. I don't like the way I feel. And there was one day, I believe it was like the World Cup or the Euro Cup was on, and I decided I just wanted to stay home and just be lazy. But I started getting that itch, and I was like, hey, I got to do something. I got to feel a little bit better. So I set a goal for myself and decided to see how many push-ups I could do throughout the day. And I kind of asked my friends, like, how many do you think I can get at? And everyone was kind of saying, a couple hundred. And I agreed. Eventually, I hit a couple hundred, and it was still in the morning, and I felt pretty good. So I just kind of wanted to see how long and how far I could push it. By the end of the day, I was well over 1,000, which just kind of opened my eyes to kind of question what's possible and how many can I actually do. So keep this in mind. If you're a beginner, if you're not someone who's been working out for a long time, do not attempt something like this. But I did kind of test it out, and I knew it was something I could do. Now, the hard part was being able to do this every single day for 31 days. So that's how the challenge started. And I decided to do the 1,000 push-ups every single day for a month. And another thing to note here is I didn't stop my workout routine. So I was still working out on top of this. And that made things a little bit tricky, especially during a lot of the upper body movement days. But just something to keep note of. So the next question is how? How was I able to get 1,000 push-ups throughout the day? Now, I know that number seems insane, but when you actually think about it, you have an entire day. You have 24 hours to get 1,000 push-ups, and I used as much time as possible. So I would start early in the morning. I would try to get myself to a point where I was at about 500 by lunch, and then just gradually finishing everything off by the end of the day, the end of the evening. So initially, I didn't really have a strategy. I first started by just kind of doing things sporadically, doing as many push-ups as I could, recording it down, and then I would just kind of keep going until I got the 1,000 push-ups. But eventually, I decided to actually come up with a strategy, make it a little bit easier, make it more predictable. So as I got better, as the weeks progressed, as the days progressed, I decided to do chunks of 50. So I would do 50 push-ups at a time, and I would continue to do that until I hit 1,000. Keep in mind, push-up form I feel like was good, but it probably wasn't perfect. So if you're going to be the form police and looking at my push-ups during this, you could probably call me out. But if you feel like you can do it better, by all means, give it a shot. Next, you might be wondering how it felt or how challenging was it really? And the answer was it was pretty challenging, but it was different. So it kind of evolved over time. The beginning, the first couple of days were actually a lot of fun because it was a new challenge. It was something that I felt accomplished and proud about doing. But what ended up happening after a few days is I got really, really sore. So my chest was just wrecked. And I had to find ways to kind of adjust my angle. So I was doing more narrow grip. I was doing some wider grip. I would switch up the angles as much as possible. And we're talking day 3, day 4. I felt like there was no way I was going to be able to complete this challenge. But as time progressed, even though I was sore, belting out these reps, eventually that soreness it went away, and it never really came back. But what ended up happening is as that soreness went away, the excitement also went away, right? So that fulfillment that I got initially in the first couple of days really went away, and it started to become a chore. And the longer that I progressed with this challenge, the worse it became, the more annoyed I became with it. It wasn't necessarily the physical challenge that was really difficult for me, although it was definitely a challenge, especially in the beginning, but it was more of the mental challenge. Like I I said, you need the full day to be able to do 1,000 push-ups every day. And if you have social events going on, it makes it really, really difficult and probably more importantly, really annoying to be able to get all those push-ups in. So even though the physical aspect was super challenging, it was more of the mental aspect and just waking up every morning kind of dreading knowing that not only do I have to do my regular workout, but I have to do 1,000 push-ups throughout the day. Meaning I pretty much had to have a timer on my phone all the time just to remind me to get these push-ups in. And that just got worse and worse and worse over time. So as much as I hated it, as much as that was like a big annoyance for me, it also did a lot for mental toughness and resilience. So the physical aspect got easier as time progressed, but the mental aspect actually got tougher. Okay, so I ended up completing the challenge. And after the month was complete, I really had 3 big takeaways. And just like I mentioned earlier, if you're not a seasoned vet when it comes to working out, don't attempt anything like this. So a lot of these takeaways would be inappropriate for most people. But the first one, and this is something that I was kind of worried about, and this is something that everyone warned me about, and it didn't happen, which was injuries. So I never really got injured. I was worried that the whole overuse thing would become a major problem, which theoretically it should have been, and it probably was, but it never got to the point where I was injured. So my shoulders felt fine, and I have a history of shoulder pain. My elbows felt fine, and I have a history of elbow pain. My back was fine. There was no issues with regards to any sort of injuries, which was a nice and pleasant surprise. It was the one thing that honestly I was worried that if I wasn't going to be able to accomplish this, that would be the one thing holding me back. But that wasn't an issue. So no injuries over the 31 days. I actually felt pretty good. Number 2, this is probably what you guys are most curious about, and that's what ended up happening with my physique. So how much did my body transform after the month? And to be honest, not much, if any. And remember, this is going to vary based off how long you've been working out, what your fitness level is at, and also what else are you doing. So I've seen a lot of challenges out there where it'll be as little as someone doing 100 push-ups per day, and they'll show their before and after pictures. And that's not to say that it's not legit, because it absolutely can be. But you got to remember, the more of a beginner you are, the more you're going to notice these changes. The more advanced you are, the less changes you're going to notice. Also, you can definitely manipulate your before and afters with a few different things. Good lighting, good angles, doing dehydration, manipulating water, sodium, sugar, all that kind of stuff, but also just changing up your diet. So if you want to look a lot more ripped in a month on top of doing your push-ups, just adjust the diet, which I didn't. So for me personally, I didn't really notice a big change in my physique, if at all, but I also wasn't expecting it. I know that you listening to this video are probably expecting some huge body transformation, because 1,000 push-ups per day is insane, but honestly, didn't really notice a big change. And I didn't expect to notice a big change as well. So it also goes to show that progress when it comes to body transformation takes time, and nutrition is super important as well. So if you only have one without the other, number 1, you're not going to get it done quick. And number 2, it's just not going to happen without any sort of nutrition intervention. And then number 3, which was by far the biggest change for me, and this one should be no surprise, I got really, really good at push-ups. And I still like doing push-ups now, but when I compare myself doing push-ups now versus when I was doing them then, it's just crazy. I would be able to do 50 in a row, no problem. Now 50 is a struggle. And it just, yeah, the amount, the ease in which that I got to being able to do a high repetition set of push-ups back then versus now, it was just, it's crazy difference. And no surprise there, right? It's one of those things where if you want to get better at something, practice it and do it a lot. So my biggest 3 takeaways: the no injuries, which was great and something I was worried about, not a big physique change, if any, which I wasn't surprised about, and then I got way, way better at push-ups. Okay, so even though that the title and the challenge itself was kind of sensationalized, the results really weren't, which is something that didn't surprise me. But you do see these all the time on YouTube. You see people posting challenges and showing their crazy before and after pictures. And to be honest, if you've tried one of these and not noticed a big difference, it's normal. Okay, so it's normal. The reason I like to do these challenges has much more to do with me just being able to push myself mentally and get that mental toughness up, rather than actually transforming my body. Anything that you should do in fitness should be long-term goals. Okay, so really playing the long game here, because the chances of you actually transforming your body, your health, your physique, your mind in 31 days, it's just not going to happen. So be patient. Trust the process. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.